My beloved child, there are days in life that feel exactly like a late afternoon, when the sun does not fall suddenly but quietly slides off the sky, leaving a thin orange line on the horizon that slowly fades. You walk home or sit in a familiar corner, watching the light in the room dim without anyone touching a switch. The day is simply closing, and in your heart, a door closes just as quietly. Shadows stretch across the floor. The tree outside casts itself over the wall, and your own shadow grows longer, thinner, as though you are being pulled between what you hoped for and what you have lost. Something hushed slips into the most ordinary things, the sound of a spoon touching a bowl, a car fading down the street, wind slipping through the crack in the door. Everything is as usual, yet your heart sinks. You do not cry aloud. You do not name your sadness. But there is a feeling that the golden hour has passed, that the best of the day is gone, and the rest is merely endurance until sleep comes. You look back at what has happened, the words you spoke, the opportunities that slipped by, and you feel like the sky that has lost its bright color, left only with twilight, neither fully light nor fully dark. You whisper to yourself, perhaps this is simply it. Perhaps my life only goes this far, without noticing that this thought itself is a kind of sunset creeping over your soul. I see every such afternoon. I see every time you fold into yourself when the day dies. And I know the sunset of the world often awakens the sunset in the heart. My child, there are seasons when you live long with that twilight feeling without needing a clock. Because when the world outside changes color, something inside you fades too. There are things you once dreamed of doing, but when you think of them, you sigh, like looking at a photograph taken in perfect light that you can never return to. You walk through busy days, fulfill your duties, smile at the right moment, answer the right words, but deep within, you feel everything closing, as though nothing new could truly begin for you. You think about age, mistakes made, trains missed, doors slammed shut, and you quietly conclude, from here on, only the remnants of the day remain. That feeling is not a noisy storm, it is a thick mist that makes everything blurry, hope dull, longing faint. You sit still, watching the light fall from the window frame. You do not know what to call it, only that you dare to hope less, dream less, love less, like someone afraid to break something fragile in their hands. You call it realism, but I know it is a deep weariness of the soul, a compromise with the lengthening shadows that you mistake for wisdom. And it is exactly in those hours, when the colors fade outside and inside, that I begin to speak. I tell you that I see your sunset more clearly than the sunset in the sky. I know the feeling of a heart drawing back like the sun behind mountains, not because it has no light, but because it has endured too much comparison, too much judgment, too much loss. I know the droop of a soul that once burned brightly and has had cold water poured on it too many times, until it only dares to burn small for safety. I stand beside you when you sit in a room growing darker, not turning on the light, letting the night crawl in because you think a switch will not change anything inside. I am there when you close the curtain, not because the light hurts, but because you do not want to see another day pass without anything to show for it. I listen to the words you never speak, the questions you only sigh. Have the best things already passed? Is my life only this half of the afternoon? Never dawn again, and my child, right there, in those very thoughts, I bow close to your heart and whisper, You were not born to close with the sunset. You were not born to hold the fading hours of the day as your final destiny, but to walk through them and step into dawn. I do not rebuke you for being sad, tired, or discouraged, just as I do not rebuke the sky for turning to night. It is part of the rhythm, not the conclusion. But I name this truth for you: you mistook a phase for a sentence, an evening for an entire life. You watched the light withdraw from the room and believed every opportunity was withdrawing from your life in the same way. You saw your shadow stretch long and thin across the floor and believed your worth was doing the same, stretched, fading, no longer sharp. You lowered your expectations to avoid disappointment, and without noticing, you built a small house at the edge of twilight, living as though this were the only place to stay, though your heart still longs for something else. I come not to scold you for the walls you built, but to gently draw back the curtains, open the window, and let you see that behind the last strip of light there is always a new rotation you have forgotten to look for. I remind you that I am the one who made both evening and morning, the one who holds the rhythm of the sun's appearing and retreat, and I have never written a story that ends in darkness. My child, I know that in this world sunset often means ending the end of work, the end of a day, the end of a journey, the end of youth, the end of a relationship, the end of a dream that never seemed to age. This is why when you face loss, rejection, a closed door, your heart immediately calls it over. Just as when the sun touches the horizon, you call it day is gone. But in my eyes, the rhythm is different. Sunset is not an exclamation point, but a comma. It is a pause so you may breathe. Reflect. Recognize that what you thought was everything was only a part of a much wider canvas. I allow the light outside your window to withdraw so that you may discover whether there is any light within your heart. I allow a day to dip so that you can no longer pretend to be strong before yourself, so that you dare to ask, if I no longer cling to what is fading, whom will I hold? And that very question is the door I have been waiting for. Today, when you feel a pale light inside, when excitement is not as before, when you sit between bright memories that have receded and vague worries about tomorrow, I want you to know I do not leave you alone in that late afternoon. I am sitting right there beside you, with a dawn you have not yet seen. I do not rush to pull the sky open, nor force the sun to return at midnight, for I honor the rhythm I placed in the universe and in the human heart, but I begin to speak to you of eternal morning right in the hour of twilight. I remind you that the line of time you live does not end in the purple of disappointment, but flows toward a day where there is no night. I place my hand on your shoulder, gently yet firmly, so you know that even if the outer light recedes, my presence never does. I invite you not to flee the dark, but to walk with me through it, with the deep certainty that behind every sunset, a dawn is being prepared. You were not born to live your whole life in the hour of fading day. You were born to learn to recognize me in the dusk, and then to step with courage into the morning I have prepared for you. You have grown used to calling the moment when the sun touches the edge of the horizon the end of the day, and so your soul has grown used to calling every retreat the end. Each time a dream pauses halfway, you whisper inside, so this is over. The way you watch the sky deepen minute by minute. Each time a relationship fades, a job door closes, or a phase of life no longer looks like it did at the beginning, you label it as a final chapter, as though from here everything must slope downward. You watch the sky move from gold to purple, from purple to deep blue, and your heart moves from trust to caution, from caution to the quiet surrender of hope. I see how you close your heart at the same time the world outside closes its light. And I hear the sentence you never say aloud, perhaps this is the moment when I must accept that there is nothing new left for me. In that very place, I want to change how you see. What your eyes call extinguishing in nature, I call signaling. What you call finished, I use as a signpost into another chapter. Sunset, in my hands, is not an ending, only the shift of a watch in the schedule I am writing. You have been using the language of fear to interpret every change of color. Now I teach you the language of hope to read those same landscapes again. When the sun descends, none of creation believes that the universe has just ended. The shift is simply marked in a visible way. Birds do not lament as humans do. They return to their nests according to an order etched quietly within their instinct. They settle, rest, and prepare for morning. Farmers watch the sky turn orange, not to complain that one more day is gone, but to read the seasons, the winds, the rain, knowing that the rhythm of their labor is moving into another phase. The sea does not protest the loss of light, it merely changes color, mirroring the sky in silence. Trees do not drop their leaves because the night has come. They stand still in the darkness and continue their hidden work. Do you see? All creation that I fashioned understands that sunset is a sign of transition, a notice that another shift of life has begun. Its work, not a proclamation of collapse. Only the human heart, wounded, afraid of delay, terrified of loss, rushes to declare it is over whenever something moves into the evening. I want you to learn to read the sky again, so that you can learn to read your life when the colors change. Do not conclude, listen. When the sun withdraws, do not claw at light. Ask what I am beginning that you cannot yet see. In your journey, there are sunsets that do not appear in the sky but in mood, the end of a youthful era, the ending of an unfinished dream, the last line of a season of trust before letting go. You have named those moments failure. Too late. Missed. Lost. And you shelter yourself inside the small room of those words, living like a person who has no reason to open the door. But from my vantage point, those ends are like the sounding of a trumpet that changes the watch. You cannot remain in the same classroom forever, cannot hold the same role indefinitely, cannot cling to a season I only ever intended as temporary. I close certain paths not to corner you but to signal that the work of that phase is complete, so that you will not remain attached to a platform that was always meant to be a rest stop. I know there were times when I allowed a door to close and you felt the sky fall because you had turned that door into identity and that step into shelter. I do not mock your feelings. I do not say, do not be weak. I bend low and tell you the truth. This is not an obituary for your future. This is only the announcement that a new phase is beginning. You have been interpreting every ending as punishment. I am teaching you to see them as invitations to step into a different path, where the light does not come from familiarity, but from me. There is a paradox you must learn. Many of my good news messages are wrapped in the deep tones of evening. Like seeds hidden in soil, the sky darkens, yet deep within it the stars are preparing to appear. Only in that setting can you recognize lights that the brightness of day always concealed. When a section of your life sinks into dusk, a job ceases, a relationship closes, a noisy doorway shuts. I do not simply turn everything off and leave you suspended. I am changing the background of the canvas so that new light can stand out. It is often in the relative darkness of no longer as before that you begin to recognize treasures that ambition's glare had blinded you to a real friendship. A quiet hour with me, a deeper capacity for compassion, You call it loss. But many times it is how I peel away artificial light so that you may see the true sources. Sunset is not merely when things fade, it is when new things begin to sparkle across the sky of your spirit. You have only been looking for the sun, and are not yet accustomed to finding stars. So when your soul passes through hours where everything seems to dim, I want you to practice a new reflex instead of declaring, "It is over." Pause and ask, "What is this signaling? Let me teach you to see deeper colors not as thieves of hope, but as the backdrop on which hope rises. Let me take your hand and remind you a day is never reduced to its final minutes. It is simply passing the shift to another day. Though your eyes cannot see because the sky is still dark, you do not have to pretend joy when the light recedes. But you do not have to despair. You do not have to deny sorrow. But you do not have to build your house upon it. I am the one who uses sunset as a bell, not as a verdict. I hide good news in violet horizons so that those who listen will know there is no extinguishing to which I do not attach a seed of beginning. And I am inviting you, in the very places you think are fading, to see with me. A habit has slipped into your heart without you knowing when it began. You cling to things that are dimming, as though they are your entire destiny. You hold on to grayed-out memories, expired words, dreams that no longer breathe, like someone gripping the last orange of dusk and refusing to let go. When the light descends beyond the horizon, you follow it downward, believing that if you hold a little tighter, what has passed will resurrect, and what is gone will return. But your soul was not made to clutch sunset. You were not born to stand forever on damp sand, watching the sun leave each day and saying, "That is all I have." I fashioned you with tendons for dawn, with eyes that know how to wait for rising, with a heart that looks for a light beyond the moment. Sunset is a segment, not destiny. It is only a page turning, not a book closed. Do not let the last light of a day become the name of your life. I see how you pitch tents on the twilight I designed only for a rest stop. You put down the heavy luggage of the past, raise a shelter at the crossing of regret and fear, and call it home. You hang portraits of longing on a violet sky, spread a carpet of waiting without knowing it was only meant for hours, not for years. You keep conversations that are closed, people who have walked on, things I have quietly shut, as though they are the only sources of belonging. I do not scold you. I understand why you do it. You fear that a new day might find you empty-handed. You fear that dawn could arrive without good things for you. So you choose to remain with what is familiar, even if the familiar is already fading. But I come near and place my hand on your shoulder and whisper, "Do not build your house on ground that has gone dark. Do not attach your identity to hours that are ending. You were not made to live by light that is vanishing. You were made to live by light that is coming." Twilight has only one assignment: to signal the end of a day. It was never commissioned to speak about your future. Lift your head and look in the moment when the sky grows darkest. The horizon does not vanish. It only sinks low to prepare for the burst when the sun returns. And I do this in your soul. The seasons you thought were broken, drained, finished, are merely pauses I use to tune your heartbeat to mine. I did not make you to guard dying light. I made you to welcome new light. So do not turn those sad hours into identity. Do not hang the sign, destiny, on the colors of a sky allowed to exist only for a short while. If you stay too long with the afterglow, you will forget that another source of light is rising behind you. Let go of the oranges that have faded. Leave that afterglow, the way a person folds the blanket used through the night, grateful that it kept warm, but not carrying it into the new day. What I want you to carry into dawn is not the shadow of the past, but the trust that I still lead you. You do not need to cling to old images to prove that you once lived, once were loved, once hoped. It is precisely in releasing them that you will see I am preparing something new for you. Anything you hold too tightly at sunset becomes an obstacle when the sun rises. You were not made to face what is fading. You were made to turn toward what is rising. I speak this to awaken your soul. Stand up. Not a rising pressed by strain or blind effort, but a rising by recognition. The hour of fading is not the place to build a house. It is only an hour to pass through. Step away from the afterglow as someone leaves a platform after the train has departed without regret, without turning back to blame yourself for missing it, but knowing another train has already been prepared. You may grieve a season, but do not turn it into destiny. I have written a longer history than the ending you are staring at. You were made to look toward the light, not to live by an old light running out. Leave the afterglow. My child, you do not belong to a fading glow. You belong to the light that is arriving. There is a moment when most hearts tremble, when the final light drains from the sky and only the rim of night remains. You look at the darkness and imagine it is a mouth of a chasm, that one more step and you will be swallowed. But darkness does not come to devour you. Darkness comes to expose what daytime never reveals, where your roots are clinging. While there is light, anyone can walk. Anyone can smile. Anyone can declare faith. But when night falls, when there is no evidence, no feeling, no guarantee, then the roots speak. Roots do not speak with words. They speak by standing. Darkness is not the enemy. It is the test of your foundation. I remember the night before the Red Sea opened. There were no drums, no blazing torches, only groaning, wind, and the footsteps of a people standing in vast emptiness without seeing a way out. That darkness did not come to ruin them. That darkness came to prove who was standing on rock and who was shaking on sand. When the storm rose, when the enemy pursued, when shouting filled the air, it was not the strength of that people that saved them, but the one who told them, "Stand still and see." That night was not punishment. That night was preparation. The night before, a miracle is always the tightest night. So it is with you. There are nights when you think you will break. You hear the whisper of fear. No one knows what you are enduring. No one is coming. There is no way out. You feel as if the ground beneath you softens, as if one more step and you will disappear. But I stand beside you, unhurried, without shouting. And I ask one small question: where are your roots clinging? If your roots cling to feelings, you will fall when feelings fade. If your roots cling to people, you will collapse when they leave. If your roots cling to success, reputation, ability, you will tremble when all of them fade. But if your roots cling to me, to the rock, you will stand even when you cannot see the path. For your foundation is not the outer light, but the inner light. I do not despise the night. I use it as a room for training hearts. In the dark, I do not ask you to run, I ask you to stand. Not with strained muscles, but with awareness. I am here. In the night, darkness cannot swallow you when I am within it. Night cannot crush you when your roots grip the rock. Let darkness do its work, strip away what is weak, reveal what is true. By this you will see that night is not your ending. Night is the backdrop for a miracle. I have seen many flee from darkness and abandon their blessing. They think running from night is running toward light, but they only run in circles and never find the door of dawn. Darkness is not an opponent to defeat. It is a teacher of a lesson daylight cannot teach, standing in stillness. when everything is silent, when there is no applause, when no one knows you are trying, that is when you discover who you are. Night returns the true name to the soul. It says no performance, no pretending, no impressing. Just stand. Remember this: roots do not grow in daylight. Roots grow in the dark, in the damp soil, when no one watches, when no one praises, when nothing seems to be progressing. Do not hate the night simply because you see no flowers beneath the soil. Roots are gripping the rock. This is why later winds will not topple you. This is why criticism will not make you collapse. This is why losses will not destroy you. You were trained in the night. Your roots have found the rock. Darkness does not come to engulf you. It comes to prove your foundation. Stand with me. I do not ask you to see the road clearly. I ask you to stand close to me. Because when dawn appears, you will know that night has prepared you to welcome the light without being blinded. If you stand with me in the night, you will stand with me in the day. There are nights that give no warning, settling quietly like a heavy blanket. You cannot prepare for them. You have no map. You have no plan. You only know that the light has retreated from the sky and the shadow is standing near. In those minutes you think you are weak, that you are losing, that everything is about to fall. But you forget one thing: I never promised you that night would not come. I only promised that when night comes, you would not be alone. What you need is not the absence of darkness. What you need is my presence within it. A small torch in my hand is enough to lead you through paths your eyes believe do not exist. You think you need great light. You think only when the sky opens in brilliance will you be safe. But you have forgotten that great light does not teach you what a small torch teaches. When you walk under a dim moon, every step becomes an intimate conversation. You ask. I answer. You pause. I place my hand on your back. You tremble. I hold you closer. You breathe. I breathe with you. In the night, everything slows down. And in that slowness you hear what you missed in the bright day. Night softens the heart. And when the heart is soft, you receive my voice. That companionship is more precious than 1,000 radiant dawns you walk through alone. I say this to you not to romanticize darkness, but so you will know that the essence of protection is not the removal of night, but being able to stand in night without fear. I am with you. That sentence is the torch. That sentence is the flame. That sentence is the warmth. I do not go ahead so that you must chase. I do not walk behind to watch you. I walk beside you, at the height of your shoulder, so that you hear my footsteps on the earth, so that you know every step you take has a second rhythm. When you are weak, I am not far. When you tremble, I am not silent. When you cry, I do not turn my face away. I never promised that storms would avoid you. I only promised that storms would never take you from my hand. Night may be long, but it cannot defeat a soul that clings to my hand. You do not need strength to survive the night. You need nearness to me. You do not need plans. You need presence. You do not need to know exactly when the sun will rise. You only need to know who is holding the torch. Sometimes the only thing you can do is reach out your hand, and I have never let that hand fall into empty space. I take hold of it, not with haste, but with certainty. I do not hold you to keep you back, but to lead you across. Night is not a burial ground. Night is a crossing place. I know you fear darkness because you were once left in darkness. You once stood in a silent room where no one answered. You once sought light and found none. You thought those nights were proof that you were alone. But the truth is different. I was there, even when you could not feel me. My presence does not depend on your feelings. I was there when you laughed. I was there when you cried. I was there when you slept exhausted from weariness. You think night makes you weak. No. Night only reveals your need. When you see that you need, you reach for me. And when you reach for me, you find peace deeper than any light could ever give. Let me say this clearly: you are not alone, not in daylight, not at night, not in twilight, not at dawn. I am the one who says, I am with you, not only when you are good, when you believe, when you are strong, when you are joyful. I am with you even when you tremble, when you doubt, when you are lost, when you are tired. The torch in my hand does not go out because of wind. It does not flicker because the night is deep. It does not fade because of fear. It burns with my nature, not with your breath. Wherever you go, that light goes. And whatever you face, that light does not leave you. Night does not promise ease, but I promise nearness. And when you have me, you have enough. Walk, one step at a time, not hurried, not frantic, not searching blindly on your own. I walk with you. I hold you. I know the road. I have gone before you and am leading you after. You may not see the whole landscape, but the torch in my hand gives enough light for the next step, and that is all you need. In darkness, it is easy to believe that darkness is everything. When the memory of night covers your eyes, you assume you are the product of dim hours, of old failures, of sighs no one ever heard. But darkness is only the scenery. It is not your name. It is not your identity. It is not what I spoke over you from the beginning. You believed night defined you, that what you lost, what you did not achieve, the whispers spoken in bitterness behind your back, all shaped you permanently. But I stand right there, in the tangled branches of that darkness, and I call you not by shadow, but by light. You are called out of night, but you do not belong to night. You are brought out of the dark so that you will know light is not just a place, but a living nature within you. You are not defined by your weakest moment, but by a strong command, let there be light. That light does not originate from your effort. You do not have to ignite yourself. You only need not cover it. Darkness may surround you, but it cannot touch a soul anchored in me. When you open your eyes in the night, you see blackness, but when you open your heart, you feel a light that does not come from the sun, or from torches, or from people, but from the one who called you. That light gleams not because circumstances are good, but because I am present. That light is in the very breath you thought was heavy. It is in the tears you assumed were failure. It is in the silence when you have no words for the world. I am there, and where I stand, light radiates. You assume darkness is strong. You assume it consumes. You assume it wins, but it only seems strong when you look with natural eyes. When you look with the soul, you see something else. Darkness is only the backdrop for light to be seen more clearly. A small candle is not impressive at noon, but in the night it changes the whole room. You are like that. When you stand where others sit in fear, my light in you changes the atmosphere. It is not loud. It is not showy. It needs no justification. It simply shines. And darkness must retreat, not because you are skilled, but because the source of light is not in you, but in me, and I do not go out. Remember this when your heart trembles. Darkness does not get to write the last sentence. It is only a chapter, not the book. I am the author, and the next page already has light on it. Night does not determine your worth. Night only tests what you cling to. When you cling to me, you are not swept away. You do not drift. You do not wither. You stand. You shine. Your heart grows lighter. Fear loosens. You breathe deeply and know this is not the ending. This is the turning. I call you from the night, but not to leave you there. I call you, not with noise, but with a shining whisper. You hear when your heart is still. You hear when you stop wrestling with shadows. You hear when you stop blaming yourself. You hear when you let me place my hand on your chest and say, enough. Now stand. Light does not come after success. Light comes when I speak, and I have spoken. There are nights heavy as stone on the chest, nights when the sky has no voice, nights when breath cannot find its way out. Darkness does not only stay outside, it seems to slip into thought, crawl through memory, sit right on the soul. In those hours, your first instinct is to lie down, give up, pull the blanket over your head and wait for it all to pass. But that is not the hour to lie down. That is the hour to stand. When the darkness is thickest, that is the moment you straighten your back, place your feet on the floor, and hold your heart steady. I do not call you to hide. I call you to stand. Because standing is a declaration. Standing is victory in silence. Standing is a spiritual act stronger than shouting. Standing says, I do not belong to darkness. Standing says, I know who holds me. Night does not like those who stand. Night prefers those who curl up, shrink back, disappear. But you were not made to be a shadow. You were made to bear my image, and that image does not bow. When you stand in the night, you are not standing by your own strength. You are standing by the word I spoke in the beginning, let there be light. That command was not only for the sun, it was also for the soul. When darkness covers everything, light within does not arise by accident, it arises by response. It arises by obedience. It arises by faith. You stand because I am here. My child, my word has always said, do not fear, for I am with you. You do not stand to prove strength. You stand to prove belonging. Night cannot possess the one who knows to whom they belong. When you stand, you see something that a person lying down cannot see. Darkness is not a master. It has no authority over the soul. It does not determine direction. It does not hold the keys of the future. It is only a dark canvas on which light is made visible. When you stand, you place your soul in its rightful place, not under circumstances, but under my hand. Remember those who stood before you. Israel stood before the sea with cold wind at their back. They could not retreat. They could not see a way forward, but they stood, and the sea opened. David stood before the giant, not with human strength, but with a certainty, I come in the name of the Lord. Daniel stood among lions, not shrinking, not fleeing. Those who stood did not stand because they did not tremble, but because they knew who was with them in the night. So do you. Fear may still exist. The heart may beat fast. The air may be cold, but the feet do not step backward. Standing in the night is not the posture of despair, but the posture of hope. When you stand, you wait for dawn. You say with your body, night will not pull me down. Morning will come, and morning always comes. Light always wins. Darkness always withdraws. The night does not last forever. Your place is standing, not lying down, where you stand. I stand with you. You do not stand alone in the night. You stand with me. And that is why you will not collapse. You often think that dawn must come first. Then you will rise. You wait for the sky to change color, for birds to announce, for external signs to confirm. But you do not know that your standing is the announcement of dawn. Night does not end by itself. It ends when someone chooses not to bow. The watchman does not stand because he sees the sun. The watchman stands so that the sun will see him. When you stand in the dark, you become a boundary line. Behind you is night. Before you is day. It is not dawn that creates those who stand. It is those who stand who open the door for dawn. That is a spiritual paradox. Night gives birth to morning. Not by shadows, but by the one who knows how to stand without leaving their post. There are times when the sky is still dark, but your heart is already bright. No one outside understands that. They look and think, night is still here. Why stand? But the soul has heard my call. Dawn begins in the heart before it appears in the sky. It begins with a small decision. Silent. Without applause, you stand. You do not wait for a clear reason. You do not wait for an external miracle. You do not wait for everything around you to change. You stand because I called. That is the power the night cannot comprehend. Darkness has control over the scenery, but not over the will. When you stand, you say something mighty without using words. I belong to the light. In that hour, you are like a guard. The day has not come, but you do not sleep. The wind is cold, but you do not abandon your post. No one sees, but I see. The guard does not shine under lamps, but he is the reason the city is safe. You think you are insignificant standing alone in the night, but you are not. You hold the wall. You hold the gate. You hold faith for your household, your lineage. For those who do not yet know they need a guard, you do not stand to perform, but to keep watch. And I stand with you. Morning does not come because time passes. Morning comes because of my decree. When you stand, you are aligned with that decree. Standing does not make the sun rise faster, but standing makes you ready when the sun rises. There is a strange ache in the moment before dawn, everything still, cold, dim, long. But that is when the sky thins. That is when breath changes. That is when the soul knows waiting is not useless. Standing in the night is a silent declaration. I know morning will come, and I will meet it standing upright, not crawling, not shrinking. And morning always finds the one who stands. So do not say, when it is light, I will stand. Say, I stand, and light will come. Night does not determine your hour. I determine it. I see you. I know the place you are keeping. I know the cold wind and the long hours. But in that very place, your soul becomes strong. In that very place, dawn is prepared. The one who stands in the night will be the first to see light touch the earth. Light does not come looking for the sleeping. Light comes to meet the waiting. When you stand, you do a silent but mighty work. You open the door for dawn. When you stand, it is not the night that changes, but something greater your position. Before, darkness was above, and you were beneath. It covered, and you curled. But when you stand, the ratio reverses. Darkness is no longer a roof, only a floor. You become a pillar of light in the night. No blazing torch, no fireworks, only your presence on your feet. That makes the night step back. Night does not need to vanish, it only needs to lose dominion. It no longer presses on your chest. It must flow around the place you occupy. There is a deep joy, known only by those who once curled the feeling of, "I am standing now." The body still trembles, the breath still heavy, but the soul is straight. That is a victory without sound, but heaven hears it loudly. When you lie down, everything looks big. When you crouch, shadows grow longer. When you fear, darkness has a voice. But when you stand, you see what I always see. Darkness is only shadow. It has no bones, no roots, no substance. It only has permission to cover as long as you lie beneath it. When you change position, it loses authority. You do not have to fight darkness to defeat it. You only need to stand in the light. A pillar of light does not strike the night, it simply stands. And the night must reshape itself around it. You think you are just one person, but when you stand, you become a spiritual landmark. The space knows. The atmosphere knows. The powers of darkness know. You are on my foundation, and no one touches your soul. Do not underestimate what happens in the moment you decide to stand. That is not a physical act, but a turning of the soul. You shift from being covered to being a covering. You shift from one who waits to see what will happen to one who shapes what will happen. Night no longer leads, you lead. You do not chase light, you carry light. You do not ask, "Where is the dawn?" You become the pillar that waits for dawn. And when dawn comes, it looks for the one who stands. It touches that one first. It wraps that one like the first garment of a new day. Night does not like this. Night wants you lying still so it can whisper. See, no one saves. But when you stand, you answer by your very existence. I have already been saved. You imagine that to defeat darkness you must do something great. But I tell you, something great happens when you do something small with endurance. Standing is endurance. Standing is steadfastness. Standing is believing before you see. Standing is loving before you feel. Standing is waiting before you are sure. Standing is holding my hand when there is nothing else to hold. And in that very act, the power of night is drained. It no longer speaks with authority. It only whispers weakly. It no longer pulls. It only follows behind. It no longer leads. It only fades. You become the one who covers it with the light within, not because you are great, but because I am in you. I do not teach you how to rule the night. I teach you how to stand so that the night does not rule you. You once thought you had to wait for a better mood, wait for praise, wait for circumstances to change, wait for someone else to stand with you. But when you stood alone in the night, you learned this one person standing changes the atmosphere. Not everything, but enough to show the way. Others may not understand yet. They may stay curled under blankets, waiting because they are afraid. But then they look, and they see a pillar of light. They see someone steady in the night. Not a strong person, but a standing person, and their hearts are stirred. Light spreads in a way no one can measure. One soul stands because it believes, and many souls find direction. The darkness has not disappeared, but it no longer rules. You have changed position. Your roots cling to the rock. Your light is not borrowed from the sun, it comes from me. The one who stands in the night will always find the dawn. There is a quiet beauty in the golden hour. Red light rests on mountaintops. Roofs glow orange. Birds return to their nests. The wind rests on the water. Sunset soothes your heart. makes memories soft, wraps every pain in a gentle light. You stand watching and feel as though you could stay in that moment forever. There is something peaceful and moving about it, like an inn on the road after a long day. There, you breathe slowly. You remember much. You love what has been. You try each memory on again like a traveler who pauses to look back and smile. But however beautiful sunset is, it is not your home. Your home is not where the sun goes down. Your home is where the sun rises. Those last red hours of the day are only a gentle greeting to what will pass. They are not an invitation to stay. Sunset knows how to charm with its soft gold, with pleasant silence, with thoughts like, maybe just a little longer here. But that is only an inn for a tired soul, not a place to settle. You may sit there for a while, drink water, wipe your sweat, look back on the road you have walked. You may sigh, even let a few tears fall for the parts that hurt. But you must not close the door. You must not say, I will stay here. For dawn does not come to the one who chooses to remain in twilight. Sunset has the beauty of ending. But the beauty of ending is not as great as the beauty of beginning. You were not made to live forever in the hour of fading. You were made for the hour of opening. Behind the red mountains, another sun is preparing. Night will come down. But night is only a curtain. Behind it, things are moving. You see the sun go into shadow, but the sun does not die. It only leaves your sight to go into another heaven and return at the right time. You think it is lost, but it is only hidden. Your life is the same. Beautiful things may move from your view. People you love may go far. Seasons you grew used to may change. But that is not a sign of ending. It is a sign of moving through. And moving through is necessary for arriving. Often, you cling to sunset, not because it is best, but because it is familiar. You know how to live in that red light. You know your feelings in that hour. You know your story under that sky. But familiar is not home. You were not made for familiar. You were made for light. I do not remain in sunset for you to hold on to. I pass through sunset to lead you to the shore of dawn. You must learn to leave the inn at the right time. Night is not the enemy. Night is a bridge, and a bridge is not home. When you see the last red of the day, you may feel nostalgic. You may smile and say, I have been here. I know this. I have walked this. But stand when the darkness touches the ground. Light the lamp. Prepare your heart. Those who stay in twilight fall asleep. Those who rise when twilight ends meet the dawn. The silence before nightfall is not an ending. It is preparation. Every great journey passes through the quiet between two lights. Sunset is not loss. Sunset is a reminder you have gone far enough to look back, and you will go further to see what is new. Sunset teaches your heart what daylight does, not how to release. Not clinging to the fading gold, not holding on to what is past, not gripping the ones who left. You sit in that hour and know that even beautiful things have their end. And endings have beauty, but that beauty is never the destination. It is only the courteous farewell of a day that has gone. Your life is the same. There are beautiful seasons, beautiful people, beautiful feelings. You cherish them. You are grateful. You carry them in your heart. But your heart must open, must know that other beauties are coming, not copies, not replacements, but entirely new. Dawn does not imitate sunset. It does not repeat. It does not need to. It brings its own light. Therefore, when you see red on the mountains and your heart feels at peace, Know that this peace is not the final stop. It is only the breath between beats. Do not build a house at the inn. Do not turn the hour of fading into destiny. You were made for the hour of opening. You were made for the east. You were made for the light that does not fade. Sunset is beautiful, but dawn is home. You may love sunset, that is not wrong. There are golden hours that warm your heart until you wish to stay forever. Red on the mountains, birds returning to nests, gentle wind on your face, all like a lullaby. You have stood there and said in your heart, if only time could stop here. Sunset has a tenderness that quiets the ache of wounds, brings back beautiful memories, makes you believe peace is the state of not changing. But true peace is not standing still. True peace is knowing that even as you move forward, you are held. I do not take that beauty from you. I only want you to know it is a resting place, not a home. Your home is not at the edge of day. Your home is at the beginning of day. I have seen you many times build a tent in the golden hour. You said, here is safe. Here you are near. Here there is no storm. But you forget that I make storms, and I protect you in storms. I do not want you to live a small life because you fear movement. You were made to walk, not to take root at an inn. You were made to go, not to hold tight to beauty that is past. I want you to learn this: not every beautiful thing is meant to be kept. Some beautiful things are only for goodbye. Look at the evening glow, it is most radiant just before it fades. But no one can hold it. If you try to keep it, you keep only the dark. You will grow dull, tired, and lose yourself. But if you can say, thank you for the beauty, farewell, you will be free to see the dawn. Goodbye is not loss. Goodbye is stepping into more. There are things in your life that are the same: relationships, dreams, busy seasons, moments of success. They once burned bright, once made your heart soar, but that season is done. Not because of failure, not because of fault, but because life keeps moving. You cannot keep leaves on trees when spring is finished. Leaves must fall to make room for new buds. Branches do not weep when leaves fall. They know another season is coming. I want you to see the nature of the life I give you. There is always a new season. There is always a new morning. There is always a new beginning. Sunset has its beauty, but it always leads into night. If you cling to it, you will soon begin to fear the dark. You will live in anxiety instead of in trust. You will try to hold on to the afterglow instead of waiting for the true light. Your anxiety does not come from the night. It comes from your refusal to let sunset go. You think you must preserve the light, but light does not need you to hold it. Light only asks you to turn toward it. I created dawn not so that it would run away from you, but so that it would come looking for you. You do not have to chase it. You only need to stand facing the right way. When you turn your face toward the east, the darkness behind you stops mattering. You do not have to deal with your shadow. You only have to look ahead. The shadow will withdraw on its own. Some people spend their whole lives trying to hold on to a past season, a feeling, a person, a position. They think that holding on is love, but sometimes holding on is a lack of trust. You do not lose what comes from me. You only lose what was never truly yours. And when you lose what was never yours, you are actually being made lighter. Look at the grass in the late afternoon, it knows how to bow. It does not strain to keep the light. Yet the next morning, it is green again. Its life does not lie in its resistance to the night, but in its willingness to receive the light afresh each day. You are the same. You do not have to strain to live. You only have to open to receive. I want you to learn to give thanks in two directions, to give thanks when you receive, and to give thanks when you release. Both are faith. Giving thanks when you receive is easy. Almost anyone can do that. But giving thanks when you let go is where you grow. When you can say, "This was beautiful, but it is finished. Thank you, and goodbye." That is the hour when I grow large within you. Because when you release, you do not fall into emptiness, you fall into my hands. I do not leave you hollow. I am simply making room for what is new. You once believed that parting with the sunset would be unbearable, but the pain only feels sharp because you have convinced yourself there is nothing better beyond it. I tell you there is something better. Do not be afraid to step away from what is familiar. The familiar is not necessarily what you belong to. Where you truly belong is the place where the light is always fresh, where hope does not grow stale, where your soul does not wear out. The night will come, I do not deny it, but night does not come to swallow you. Night comes to teach you how to stand. And when you have stood through the night, you will see the morning with eyes that are no longer afraid. You will be able to say, "Now I understand why the night has value. It taught me to wait, to trust, and to move not out of panic, but out of peace." Sunset has beauty, but dawn has life. Sunset has birdsong, but dawn has a call. Sunset has an echo, but dawn has a beginning. You were not born for the echo, you were born for the beginning. You were not born for the last light, you were born for the first light. You were not born just for the old story, you were born for the new page. I have already prepared that page. Do not be afraid to turn it. There are things you try to hold tightly because they once were warm, beautiful, and felt like a part of you. There are people you do not want to leave, memories you do not want to fade, dreams you once held like treasure. But not every good thing is meant to stay. Some things come only to open your heart, then leave when their assignment is complete. I do not take away from you anything that was ordained to be yours. I only lay my hand on what is finished so you will not linger forever at an inn. Do not cling to what I am only asking you to bid farewell. Parting is not always failure. Sometimes it is fulfillment. Finished pages must be turned if the story is to go on. If you insist on keeping the book open to the same page, you will never see the next chapter. You think you have lost, but in truth you have simply stopped too soon to see what comes next. When you open your hand, you are not throwing things away. You are allowing what is new to enter. Fear is the hand that clutches. Faith is the hand that opens. Some things that were once good will become a burden if you insist on carrying them after their season has passed. I know the things for which it is hardest for you to say goodbye. I see the nights when you lie still in the dark, watching old images run through your mind like a film. I hear the sighs you never put into words. I am not asking you to forget in a day. I am only asking you not to cling. An arm clenched around the past cannot receive the present. You were made to walk, not to clutch. Many times you say you love me, yet you keep holding tightly to what I have already withdrawn my hand from. I do not condemn you for it. I simply call you out of the shadow of sunset. There is a gentle freedom when you release something at the right time. It is not bitter or hardened. It is clear-eyed. You look at a past season with gratitude. You see what it taught you. You look back and smile softly and say to your own heart, "Thank you for coming. Now it is time to go." Letting go is not losing. Letting go is returning things to where they belong. You cannot keep light in your hands. You can only welcome it when it comes and smile when it leaves. Light does not die. It simply moves from one hilltop to another. Do not hold on to shadows. Do not hold on to fear. Do not hold on to resentment. Do not hold on to words unspoken. Those things are heavy. They pull you backward and slow your feet. You cannot carry them through the night and still reach the morning. The gate of dawn opens only for empty hands. Each time you open your hand, you grow lighter. Each time you open your hand, you walk farther. The things I ask you to say goodbye to are never so that you will be barren, but so that you will have room for blessing. Open hands are the outward sign of an inward trust. You believe that I will fill the empty space with light at the right time. When you breathe deeply and say goodbye, I stand beside you. I do not demand that you be strong. I ask you to be real. If there are tears, let them fall. If your heart aches, place your hand on your chest and know that my hand is resting on yours. Letting go is not a cold act, it is holy, gentle, mature. Letting go is a prayer taking shape. When you open your hand, the sky widens. When you open your hand, the wind moves. When you open your hand, dawn finds a way in. There are things in your life that go quiet not because they were wrong or weak, but simply because their season is complete. Like a dinner full of laughter, warmth, and the smell of food cooked with love, which nonetheless must end with the stove turned off, the table cleared, and a long exhale. No one calls that dinner a failure just because it ended. On the contrary, its very completeness is what satisfies. Lamps go out after they have shone enough. Flames die down after they have warmed enough. No one blames the lamp for ceasing to shine. We simply know it has done what it was meant to do. Many things in your life are like that. They arrive on time, fulfill their purpose, and depart in season. Not every ending is a breakdown. Many endings are completion. You once stood in front of closed doors and thought you had lost, that you were wrong, that you were less, that you were not enough. But I want you to look again with clearer eyes. Not every closed door is a rejection. Many closed doors are a declaration that the assignment is complete. Some relationships end not because people stop loving one another, but because they have walked together to exactly the stretch of road that was appointed. Some dreams do not come true not because they were bad, but because they were only the stepping stones that allowed you to see the real dream. Seasons do not change because the tree has died, but because it must get ready for different flowers, different fruit, different shade. You are not called to cling to one season forever. You are called to move from season to season, as gently as a breath, as steady as the ground beneath your feet. I know you have wept in front of fires that have gone out. I know there were nights you sat beside the ashes, waiting for the flames to rise again as before. I do not tell you not to be sad. I only tell you not to stop. Some things go out because they have completed their purpose, not because you failed to keep the fire. There were people who once warmed you, who once held your hand in the long nights, and then one day walked out of your life. You thought you were abandoned, but in truth you were returned to the quiet that is your own. Every light has its hour. Every laugh has its rhythm. Every season has the portion that has been written for it. When a season is done, the most beautiful thing you can do is bow in gratitude, and then open your hands. The lamp in the corner of the house that once lit your way through darkness is now gently blown out by me, not because its light was poor, but because its light was enough. When the role is finished, the actor leaves the stage. When the song is over, the singing stops. When my hand blows softly, the lamp goes out, but the room does not become empty. A new light is standing at the threshold. This is the principle of life. The old withdraws so the new can be welcomed. You do not have to clutch the garments of the night just because you fear the silence between night and morning. That silence is not abandonment. That silence is preparation. Like a kitchen after dinner, the fire is out. The stove cools. The heat rises away. And in that stillness, the heart knows it has been fed. Child, your past does not need to be condemned for you to be free. It only needs to be honored in its place and laid down in the right spot. I do not tell you to brush off all beautiful memories. I tell you not to make them into a house. Sunset is not the failure of the sun. Sunset is completion. A field after harvest is not desolation. It is empty space for the rain to fall, for the soil to rest, for new seeds to sprout. There are things in you that have already done their work. They have made you grow, made you deep, made you know how to love, how to hurt, how to be patient. When they go out, let them go out with honor. Do not drag the old flame back just because you are used to its light. At this hour, another light is waiting. You are not a failure because something is no more. You fail only when you tie yourself to what has already passed. I did not make you to cling to ashes, but to walk into green shoots. Some lamps go out because dawn is rising. If you only stare into the darkness, you will not see the outline of the light. If you only stare at the extinguished fire, you will not see the stove that has been cleared, the table that has been wiped, the space ready for a new meal. When you are at peace with a season's end, you step into wisdom, not hurried, not bitterly regretful, simply grateful and ready. A finished season is not bad news, it is good news, announcing the next one. Fear inflates everything beyond its true size, like a small sound in the corner of the house turning into a threat in the stillness of the night. When you are trembling inside, the dark seems to expand, to cover everything, to swallow every path. But when you stand in trust, the darkness loses its voice. This spiritual truth is simple, yet profound. Darkness has no voice of its own. It only repeats the sound of fear. When you fear, that sound grows loud. When you trust, it recedes. It is like distant thunder, it rumbles, but does not strike. It sounds fierce, but does not break the door. Many times you think you are facing something terrifying, when in reality you are only listening to the echo of your own unhealed places. When you seat fear on the throne, it shouts. When you put trust in its rightful place, it falls silent. I see the nights when you lie there, eyes open, heart pounding, convinced that the darkness is stretching out forever. Every noise outside startles you. Every thought inside makes you shrink back. You think you are hearing the sound of danger, but most of it is only the voice of pain that has not yet healed, of memories that once hurt. Pain is not a prophet. It is only distant thunder. It does not crash down on your head. It does not destroy your house. It just passes across the sky and fades. When you know this, your heart grows light. You do not need to wrestle with the night. You only need to stand in the light I have placed within you. Faith is not closing your eyes and pretending the dark is not there. Faith is looking at what is dark without letting it decide who you are. Night is real, but light is real too. Fear is real, but so am I. When you choose to listen to my voice more than the voice of fear, something strange happens. The darkness outside does not shrink, but the darkness inside does. There, you can breathe. There, you can stand. Fear loses its power when you no longer give it a seat. You do not offer it sacrifices of imagination. Do not feed it with memories. Do not give it the throne of your heart. I never told you to be strong. I told you to believe. Many think peace comes when the night is over, but true peace comes when your heart knows the night is not in charge. You can walk in the night without trembling, because what holds you up is not the light around you, but the light within you. I have placed a lamp inside your chest not for you to show off, but for you to live by. When you believe, that lamp flares bright enough for you to see the path even while it is still dark outside. Night remains night, but you are no longer the one who fears. You become the watcher, the one who stands, the one who knows this hour is only an hour, not destiny, not a verdict, only a stretch of the road. Fear gives darkness a voice. Trust makes darkness quiet. When you trust me, distant thunder remains only distant thunder, not disaster, not a death sentence, just the passing sound of life. You belong to me, so you do not have to flinch at every noise. You stand in my presence, so every other sound becomes background. The peace in your heart is not the absence of noise, but my voice stronger than all the rest. Night cannot roar when you know who is with you. Night becomes a time to breathe, to wait, to trust that dawn is closer than you think. Darkness is not a solid wall, although to your eyes it sometimes seems so. It is only a thin curtain stretched between you and what is coming. When that curtain closes around you, you assume you are blocked, that there is nothing ahead, that all hope has sunk into the unseen. But the spiritual reality is completely different right behind that curtain. Dawn is already prepared, not one day in some far-off sense. It is already present. It has already been made ready. It is already there, waiting for the moment to pour in. In this hour, you are standing like a person on a stage while the curtain is still drawn. The auditorium is quiet. The lights are out. The sound is muted, as though nothing is happening. But you do not know that behind the curtain, every prop is already in place. The music has begun. The characters are waiting in breath. With one pull of the rope, one small movement, the curtain will open and you will see something entirely different. Darkness is not the whole stage. It is merely the moment of transition. What is true is behind that fabric, not destroyed, not delayed, not lost. It is only not yet revealed. Dawn does not need drums to announce itself. It does not arrive with noise. It arrives with silent certainty, before your eyes see it. Light has already moved. Before the sun touches the horizon, warmth has already spread. Behind the curtain, every color is already arranged, every line already built. You only need to stand, only need to wait in peace, not wait in fear. When the curtain is drawn back, you will exclaim, "It was near all along." Darkness was not as thick as you imagined. What you were waiting for was not gone, only hidden for a moment. Many times in your life, darkness has been performed as though it were the final act. But I say it was only the last scene of the previous act. Behind it already lies a new scene, new characters, a new heart, new light. I do not let you live forever under a heavy drape. I did not create you to love twilight. I created you to walk into light. Therefore, when you see the curtain of night before you, do not think the stage of your life has closed. Know that preparation is happening behind it. Detail upon detail, shade upon shade, for a scene you have never seen. Believe, my child. Light is right there. With your eyes you see night. With faith you see my hand on the drawstring. You think you must wait for darkness to pass before you can live. But I say simply stand in your place. For dawn does not come from outside, it comes from me. Night cannot defeat morning. The curtain cannot stop light. You do not need to tear it open. You only need to trust. I will draw it back. And when I do, no power can hold it. You will not only see the dawn, you will step into it. Darkness is not an enemy for you to fight through every night. You were not born to do battle with every shadow, every noise, every sad memory that passes by. Night makes you think your task is to conquer it. Chase it. Prove you are stronger than it. But the truth is simpler than the hundreds of battles you imagined. You do not need to chase darkness away. You only need to turn toward the light. A body weary from fighting shadows will find peace in one small act, turning around. Facing east. Darkness does not leave because you strike at it, but because dawn arrives. Not victory by strain, but by direction. Many nights in your life, you wrestled with heavy thoughts like storm clouds. You confronted whispers in stillness. You ran with a lamp to inspect every corner. You became tired. You became weary. You wanted light. Yet you rushed into shadow. I saw that. I understand why you did it. Your heart wants clarity, wants assurance, wants to know nothing is hiding. But listen, darkness is where nothing is to be seen. Night has no treasure. There is no life in it. You do not need to analyze every shadow. You do not need to pursue every worry. You only need to do the simple thing. Turn your back to the shadow and turn your face toward the light. Dawn does not require you to banish night before it comes. The sun does not need your help. It rises by itself. You only need to be the one who looks in the right direction. When you face east, darkness is still behind you, but it no longer commands. When you turn your heart toward the light, your shadow falls behind you, no longer in your eyes. The story is no longer about battle, but about direction, one small choice. Yet it changes the whole atmosphere. Not, I must bravely fight the dark, but I will step where I am shining. You do not need to defeat night, only go to light. Some have spent years chasing fear, chasing shame, chasing old voices. They strained, they struggled, they shouted inside. They believed they must fight to the end. But do you know, there was never a battle there. Darkness is only lack of light. Fear is only lack of trust. Shame is only lack of identity. A little light makes darkness withdraw. One breath of trust makes the roar grow small. One step of belonging takes fear off the stage. I do not teach you to fight shadows. I teach you to face light. When you turn, you understand instantly. Shadow is not a thing. It is only the part not being shown upon. When you turn your heart toward me, the old voices simply fall away. Not because you have won, but because they have no place. There is a deep spiritual secret. What you look at decides what you feel, and what you feel leads how you walk. If your eyes behold darkness, your heart contracts. If your eyes behold light, your heart expands. Many live their whole lives avoiding shadows, running from night, but never finding the right direction. They tire from worry. They ache from fear. They believe life is escape. I say no. You were not made to run away. You were made to go forward. You were not made to avoid. You were made to step in, not to flee from night, but to walk into light. Think of early mornings. When you open the door and the cool air touches your skin, you know the sun is coming. You do not call the sun. You do not plead with the sun. You do not prove you deserve the sun. You simply open your eyes and face where it will rise. That is simple. That is light. That is beautiful. The dawn of the soul is the same. You do not create light. You only turn and receive. One small turning, and everything changes color. Many times I called you in the night. Do not analyze darkness. Do not dissect pain to find meaning. Do not try to answer questions that are not yet time. You do not need complete understanding to face correctly. You only need to know I am the source of light. And dawn is never late. Turn in heart before in feet. Turn trust. Turn hope. Turn identity. Turn speech. Turn gaze. When you turn, you will see I was there. I am not in the things you fear. I am in the sunrise that is coming. Fear does not decrease because you think more. It decreases because you look at me. My child, do not fight the shadow on the wall. It is only the shape of your own body when the light is behind you. If you turn, the light will be in front, and the shadow will follow you. You do not need to handle it. It simply goes where the light goes. That is the beauty of spiritual life. No heaviness, no complexity, no long campaigns, only something simple and deep turned toward me. When you look at me, you look at dawn, and when you look at dawn, you will walk like one who is called. I know there are long nights. I know there are dusks that weigh on the heart. I see you sitting still, eyes on a fading horizon, unsure what to do next. You think perhaps I must wait for night to pass. You imagine perhaps I must endure more. But it is not like that. You do not need to chase away the dark. You do not need to pull in the light. You only need to rise in my direction. Many miracles happen not through effort, but through right orientation. Dawn finds the right direction. Blessing finds the right direction. Freedom finds the right direction. Be the one who faces the light, even before the sun is fully up. For in that pale glow, you already see the color of hope. I do not invite you to live your whole life under the face of shadow. I invite you to walk toward the first gold of the day. The moment you turn, you will see I am already here. I am not waiting at the end of the night. I am at the beginning of the dawn. Your life is not an arena for darkness, but a journey toward an eternal morning. You do not need to defeat the dark. You only need to turn. You do not need to strain. You only need to align. You will feel lighter. You will breathe. You will step. Dawn does not need an announcer. It does not need someone standing on a mountain shouting that the sun is about to rise. It does not need flares, drums, or ceremony. Dawn comes because it is dawn. It comes by its own nature. You see the darkness recede not because the dark is suddenly weak, but because the light has come. Light does not wage war. Light simply appears, and darkness loses its voice. That is how the universe was made. That is how I work. You do not have to call light down with a shout. You only have to let your eyes wake and look. The way I do all things is not noisy, but certain, not chaotic, but precise, not rushed, but on time. Some people think a miracle must have loud sounds, spectacle, and display. But in truth, the deepest things often arrive quietly. One thin line of light, like a thread along the horizon, and the entire night begins to change. I come into your life in the same way, not always with thunder or storm, but with a silent, powerful, unshakable presence. Sometimes it is just a peaceful thought, a gentle breath, a moment when your heart opens, and you know something holy is arriving. No one hears a drum, but your heart feels a change that cannot be denied. Dawn does not overwhelm you, it wakes you. I want you to learn this rhythm, the rhythm of dawn, the rhythm of things that come by nature, not by force. You do not have to pull the sun up. You do not have to beg it to rise. It rises because it always rises. Spiritual life is the same. You only need not to cover your own eyes. Do not throw a blanket of fear over your soul. Do not lock the door of your heart because the night has been long. Leave a small opening, just a crack. The light will find its way in. It always does. Dawn does not need a wide open sky. It only needs one open direction. And, little by little, the ground changes color. That is why I invite you, do not lose heart when you do not yet see brilliance. Do not assume that because you do not yet see the sun is not there. There are hours when the light comes, like breath from deep blue to purple, from purple to pink, from pink to gold. The beauty of dawn is in its increase, not sudden, yet unstoppable. No one can pinpoint the exact second it crosses the horizon, but everyone knows when it has arrived. Night does not file a report, it simply retreats. Day does not argue, it simply wins. Let your life be like that. No need to prove. No need for noise. Just be present and let me work. When you see this, your heart will be strangely at peace. Because you will realize what I promise does not come by your effort, but by my nature. You do not have to make blessing happen. You only need not to block it. You do not have to drag the future closer. You only need to walk in the rhythm of dawn, slow, steady, always moving forward. You do not have to understand everything, but you will feel it. Light will seep through every crack in your soul, not hurried, not forced, but certain. When dawn comes, a single band of gold is enough for you to know a new day has begun. Now, sit still, not anxious, but expectant. Open your heart the way the earth opens to the dew. Exhale, because I am coming. You do not need a clock to know the day has begun. You only need to sense it. There is a stillness that does not come from circumstance, a warmth that does not come from the sun, a quiet that does not come from silence. That is the first sign of spiritual dawn. It does not ring like a bell. It does not flash like a warning light. It comes like a breath after a long night. You open your eyes and your heart knows. Even if the window is still dark, the day has arrived. The light outside may not yet be visible, but the peace inside has already stood up. Many wait for the clock, for evidence, for spectacle. They want to see before they believe. But I show you the opposite: believe before you see, and then you will see more clearly. Spiritual dawn does not begin when the sun touches the horizon, but when your soul sighs softly, when the tension drops from your shoulders, when anxiety loses its voice. Peace is the first sound of the new day. It does not need words, yet you recognize it immediately. It comes more as a feeling than a sentence, more in the heart than in the sky, more in the stillness than in explanations. Let your heart be the window. It does not need to be wide open. It only needs to be open enough for the light to find a way. Peace does not require a large space. It only needs agreement. When you stop resisting, it comes. When you stop comparing, it flows. When you stop blaming yourself for the length of the night, it begins to sing inside you. That is the sign. Before anything is visible, before any external proof, before any outward change, peace comes first. That is how I tell you the new day is near. Not with thunder, but with a whisper. You once thought peace was the final reward, something you would receive after everything was fixed. But the truth is the opposite. Peace does not come after things are made right. Peace is what makes things right. It goes ahead and leads the way. It is the first step of dawn. When you feel this gentle calm, do not ignore it. Do not think it is small. Do not assume it is fleeting. It is the foundation. It is the confirmation that I am working in you, not through arguments, not through debates, but through a deep inner widening. When your heart is wide, the light enters easily. You will see this again and again. The dawn out there comes from the dawn within. Inner light always precedes outer light. When you rise with a peaceful heart, darkness has no right to imprison you, even if it is still present. You do not need to wait for the entire sky to brighten to know that the day is coming. One ray is enough for faith. One breath is enough for a decision. You take my hand in this stillness, and that very act creates the shift. Peace is the prophecy of light. So today, if you feel a small calm in your heart in the midst of unresolved things, know this is not an accident. It is a sign. It is my word. It is light stepping in before the dawn itself. You do not need a clock to set the hour, nor a calendar to set the season. You recognize it with your heart. You sense it with your soul. You know it by the warmth passing through your chest. Dawn has touched you. Stand. Breathe. Let this calm lead your next step. I am here. You imagine that when the new day comes, you must be perfectly put together, standing straight, having erased everything that is still broken. But dawn does not sign contracts with perfection. It does not come because you deserve it. It comes because it comes. Light does not ask if the doorway is spotless. It just enters where it finds a crack. Dawn does not require you to have everything in place. It only looks to see if your heart is open. Readiness is not being without flaw. Readiness is refusing to run away. Some people wait for dawn with conditions when you are no longer weak, when you are no longer afraid, when you are no longer wounded, when you are no longer shaped by your past. But dawn does not wait for those things. Dawn touches the places still wet with tears. It touches the eyelids still tired. It touches the heart still trembling. It settles like dew, not loud, not wounding, but very real. Dew does not fall because the field is perfect, but because the morning has come. You do not need to appear strong. You only need to open the door. I do not invite you into the new day to play the hero. I invite you into the new day as you are, with slow breath, with cold hands, with a heart still learning to trust. Dawn is my part, not yours. Your part is to be willing to receive, not willing to prove. When light touches, it does the clearing itself. It dries the damp places. It lifts the weight. It calls you to stand, not with command, but with warmth. Warmth always comes before calling. You have become used to living in twilight, where you thought everything had to be beautiful in order to be kept. But dawn comes to build, not to keep. Dawn does not inspect every crack in the wall. It only needs the wall not to be locked. When you open the door, even just a little, the light is enough to change the rhythm in your chest. You do not need to open wide. You only need to open enough. Dawn does not seek perfection. Dawn seeks space. So today, do not be afraid if you do not feel ready in the way the world defines readiness. I do not need you completed. I need you present. I do not need you to prove. I need you to agree. That agreement is like a door slightly open in the mist. No one hears anything. but everything begins to change color. You cannot see the whole landscape yet, but you can feel it in your heart. Something is coming, and it is good. This readiness is your invitation sent upward. Therefore, do not wait for perfection to step. Do not wait for fear to leave before you open. Do not wait for pain to end before you believe. Open the door. Give your heart some space. Whisper, "I am willing." Dawn will do the rest. It knows the way. It knows the time. It knows you. Stand in the mist and let the light find you. I am coming near. There is no noisy battle when light arrives. There is no long debate over ownership. There is no negotiation between darkness and dawn. Night does not stand in the field to bargain with morning. It has no voice at that hour. When light touches the horizon, night does only one thing: it withdraws. Not because it has lost strength, but because its nature is to yield. You thought dawn must fight the night. But no, dawn simply appears, and night folds back. Sometimes you live as though you must handle every shadow one by one, must explain, must defend, must scrub away every trace of night. But light does not write arguments. Light does not draft apologies. Light simply comes, and when light comes, the dark falls silent. No shouting, no victory cry, only truth appearing. Darkness does not exist because it is strong, but because there is no light. When truth comes, falsehood dissolves. When life comes, death steps back. When I come, you stand, and the darkness must yield. You once thought you had to defeat the night with skill, with effort, with iron will. But victory is not found in strain, it is found in opening. Open the door. Open the heart. Open the eyes. Night does not retreat because you yell at it, but because the light from me pours in. When I stand with you, dawn stands with you. When dawn stands with you, no shadow can hold its ground. Darkness does not die by whipping it, it dies by mourning. That day, you will look back and smile gently, not because you were strong, but because you saw the simplicity of truth. What once looked large in the dark turns out to be only a cloth over a chair. Light does not strain to lift the cloth, it only shines, and the cloth becomes transparent, the darkness that once worried you, when morning comes, is put in its place, not by conflict, but by presence, not by shouting, but by warmth. Therefore, let dawn touch you. Do not argue with night. Do not negotiate with fear. Do not try to prove the light. Open your heart and let me come. When I come, darkness retreats. When I come, the weight melts. When I come, the old folds itself away. You do not need to do much. You only need to stand where the light can find you. All the rest, morning will handle. There were nights when you thought you would break, not because someone struck you, but because of the weight of the invisible worry. Sighing, old memories, unanswered questions. You walked through hours that seemed they would never turn to day. There were nights your eyes were open but saw nothing, your chest tight with breath that could not fill. You thought, a little more, and I will not bear it. Yet here you are. You are still standing. You did not merely survive, you were forged. What you thought would kill you did not come to destroy you, but to refine you in my furnace. Fire does not ask metal if it wants heat. It is heat, and whoever enters is changed. Gold does not shine with glory until it has passed through flame. Steel does not carry endurance until it has met pressure. There are seasons where I do not lift you out of the fire, not because I abandon you, but because I know what is within you will grow stronger in flame. I do not throw you into night, I stand with you in the night. I do not push you into the furnace, I am in the furnace with you. What you feel as fire is not ending, it is crafting. You thought, this fear will crush me, but that fear taught you how to stand. You thought this pain will ruin me, but that pain made you deep. You thought this pressure will break me, but that pressure made you steady. No steel is forged in cool air. No mirror is made without polishing. No one enters the morning with gentle strength who has never known the night. It is not night that gives strength. I give strength in the night. You saw your nights as enemies, but I saw them as a furnace where weakness is turned to capacity. You thought you would die in it, but there you were, made alive and pure. What you carried as burden is now what you carry as power. Your steadfastness did not come from peaceful days. It came from heavy nights where you had nothing to hold but me. In those nights, you thought yourself lost, but I was leading you through. In that fire, you thought you were burning away, but I was refining you from within. Here is a spiritual secret: gentle strength does not come from easy victories, but from being saved in the fire. You are not strong because you do not hurt. You are strong because you did not quit. You stand not because there was no wind. You stand because you have roots. Your furnace was not punishment, but process. Not to break you, but to make you. Not to take you, but to give you back refined. You entered with fear. You walked out with gratitude. You entered trembling. You came out steady. Ta muôn con hiu rằng không ai nhìn thấy hết được câu chuyện của con bên trong. Người ta nhìn bề mặt và tưởng rằng con bình an vì đôi con đê, nhưng ta biết bình an của con được nông trong lúa. Sự yên của con không phải đến từ điều mdu. Mà ta nung đem đại con ấy thay. Nuôi đã nhìn nuôi yên ven, sao bao. Nhưng chỉ có ta biết nỗi nào từng nút. Nỗi nào ta đã đôi nuta vào. Nay nào, tung đỏ lúa. Chính những vết thương yêu ấy, chỉ là mỗi hắn man nhút. Không phải vì con còn đường nút, mà vì ta đã đúng nỗi đó. Nung gọc tôi nỗi con đã khóc. Nỗi con thương nu, mình sẽ vô. Chính là nỗi bề dìa của anh hông của hy vọng. Con không nhon ra. Nhưng lô lúa đã để lại. An sang trong con. Người ta thay con điểm tin mà không biết ngon gok. Con chai. Con sơ tôi nu truk. Không phải vì tôi nhỏ đi, mà vì sang trong con long lên. Đó là lúa đã từng đốt. Giờ than lúa đã từng đai. Hãy nô điều này nâng ý con từng nghe sẽ chung đứt con. Lại chuan bị con cho yer sang. Kung ko bin min de dang cho lin hon chua tung qua đêm. Kung ko suk man dang tin noi, ngui chua ting thuk, trang ma ko nien. Nung hoi thor nang ne kwa con. Da trothan hoi thor, ned by ju. Nung giot nuk mat, am thom da trothan su mem mai, yen ngui kak, tim duk cho an on. Ta dung lua, de le koi con nung ji, kong fai la con. Ta dung toi de lam noi but an sang, ta dat trong con. Gade. Kibin min cham toi con. Con se kong run. Kong fai vi con wan hao. Ma vi con, da qua lua. Ngui tung biet niet, se kong sir sang. Ngui tung trong toi, se yon ran sang. Con da noi ngui kak kong thai. Nên con mang điều người khác con. Lo luya không cúp con no trao con cho gear sang. Dem con hui con no trao cho con đôi mặt nhìn se. Noi đào con giết con no trao cho con trai. Tim mem deo. Vì vậy. Hãy biết, on nung ji, con đã tung, nghe, se ket thu con. Hai chuk fuok cho nung dem kon tuang numat. Chung lam nen kon kwa bai jia mem nhung man. Niet nung sao. Vung nhung khiem. Ta da ervi kon trong lua. Va ta ervi kon trong bin min. Kong ko dugi lang fi. Kong jot nurk mat now rivo each. Kong dem now chi la toi. Gon fai heu ban chut and sang kong kon dan ho de tang. No kong kon ke huach kin luk. Kong kon quandoi. Kong kon ting trong. An sang chi kan hien dien. Hi no swat hien. Bong toi. Hong dung. Len chong no. Root lui. Kong fai bong toi thua vi you. Ma vi ban chet ko no. La thiu. No kong ko noi dong de bauve. Kong ko re de bam. Kong kong guan de dui tri. Hideo ko ban chet zuet hien. Deu vo ban chet bien mat. Kong fai tran chin chilasu tut hien lo. Ki kon heu deu nai. Long kon se yen. Ke ka hidem kon kwan. Kong kong kon dum vau bong. Kong kong kan. Vinyung ting tom. Dang sa. Kon kong kun chung min suk man. Bang noi luk. Kon chi kon cho. On sang tru trong long. Một ngon den do nhỏ trong kan phong vân lam bong toi. Lui ve kak guk. Kong fai vi den de doa. Nhung vi den la lua. Kong kong kan ye. Lua kan chi kan lua that. Deu tut luon tang. Deu thut luon dang. Deu tut luon sang. Komodem. Tade konden ben kuya so long min. Nu Giop. Nu Josep. Nu David. Ha kong thang bang gum. Ma bang ang sang. Job kong kum bao ve ta bang li luon khi ngồi trong trobui. Ông chi ju long min hur ve dio thut. Joseph kong kan chong lai ho sao. Ông chi jur jek mur ta dat trong ông. David kong kun kien luok de ha Goliath. Ông chi buok raver niem tin rang talata. Kong fai ga kong lo thua malata thang. Kon dung dat mat vào Goliath. Hai dat mat vào ta. An sang thang kong vi no on. Ma vi no lan guon. Một ke den do don sa. Neu duk chum. Jia phong yen, qua dem. Kong kong fa dem. Kon chi kong gear, lua. Ko lu kom met den muk, chi kom một chút do. Nhưng một chút do kung du kita, trong do. Kon nyo ngui dan ba goa chi kon it do va bot. Ma chin nui, thiu thon e, ta lam nen dudut. Kong fai doi nieo lam nen fep la chin, ta lam nen fep la trong do it. Kong fai bin dai lam nen doi song, chin ta lam nen doi song, trong bin trong. Kong kon dai moi luk, kon chi kon trao cho ta fon kon lai. Voi, nen dung ngi rang bong toi thua, vi no luk ku kon. No kong thua, du kon dan, no thua vi kon ko an sang ku ta. Dem kong chong lai bin min o chi root. Lo lang hong chong, lai bin a no, chi lang. So hai, kong chong lai niem tin no, chi I am. Ki an sang thut dain. Hong kon tron luan. Gong nu trong den thur sua. Ki ngon den do duk jir. Kong fai lua nod bong an sang, chi lam ro. Trong doi kon kung vei. Kong thang loa bang li luan. Kon thang bang hien dien. Kita day. Deu toi tu root lui. Kong kom chung ming voi doi rang kom man. Kong chi kong trong ta. Ki kon dung gun lua. Kon sang. Ki kon dung trong ta. Kon yen. Ngui ta nhìn kon vangi. Vi sao long no kong run. Nhung kon biet bi mut. Kong fai kon man. Ta kong kon. Kong fai kon kin. Ta kiu. Mut ngai gan day. Kon se te diu nai. Kong chi trong long ma trong burk. Kon se buk vào nung noi tung lam kon so ma kong run. Kong fai noi ai doi. Ma vi kon da doi. Con se dung trong nung kuk noi chuyen, tung kien con luong kung. Va con se noi nyet. Kong fai vi con hok them kinang. Ma vi, bin, an di truk. Con se di qua nung loi con tung tran. Va con se mim kuri. Kong fai vi loi en tuan hon. Ma vi an sang trong con yu hon. Ta kong yu ko con dung suk de song. Ta yu ko con dung an sang de burk. Kung kong kan chin do de tang chikan dung noi tadat kon. Kon so akwaku chikan de ta chiu vao. Kong kun chung min jia tri chikon song nungui thok ve an sang. Ki kon dung. Bong toi lui. Ki kon tin. Lo long I am. Ki kon merlong. Bin minden. Dochung fai bi on dolaban chet. Vive. Hai jiu den do kwakon. Dung ban tam neo no nyo. Dung zoho neo no it. Ta kung kan nyo de lam nen fepla. Ta chi kon thut. Mod jiot do tat jier du kadem. Mod tia tin tut dui duok sir hai. Mod loi kunwain, tut lam troi lay. Mod trai tim, thut cho bin min tim, duong dain. An sang luon thang. Kong fai vi chin. Ma vi chiu. Kon tuk ve an sangai. Kong fai moi deu, ku deu so. Nyung kong fai moi deu dep de dang gue. Kon yung ve dep tuok ve huang hon dai tim tren din nui. An kui, tren mat ho. Tieng chim, ve to. Chung lam long kon mem, lai. Jiup, kon biet tron trong, nyung gi da qua. Nung ve depai, kong fai na ku kon. Kong gang dok dung, nen de neodoi min, vau jur tat. Kon duok dung nin, de buok vau sang. Ta kong dung kon, uk nui bong chiu. Ma, nu ngui di ve fian gai mui. Noi ang sang cho, voi doite rong mo. Kon da tung gu nung deo kong kon song. Chi vi chung dep, luk tan. Mot moi kwan he het, hoi nung kon tiek kiniem. Mot jack me kudanam suong, nyung kon ju, kiek au vi no vua voi kong gai ek sua. Mot thoi quen kong kon noi kon yung kon tiep tuk, vino quen. Hoang hon komaluk, no dep. No di u. No goi kon arlai, them chut nua. Nung ta, kong goi kong sai trai, noyan sang lui. Ta goi kon buk. Moi buk, roi koi jur, tat la mot buk, treve jing kon. There was a moment when I told you to take off the old garment. Not because it was torn, but because it was too small. The old garment carried the shape of the past. Sewn, according to the measurements you once had, you have grown. Your heart has grown. My dream in you has grown. If you continue to wear the old garment, you will shrink to fit it. The season of light does not ask you to shrink. The season of light asks you to open. I do not tell you to throw away the garment in anger, but to hang it as a memory and step into the new day with what fits. You do not betray the past when you walk into the future. You honor the past when you leave it in its rightful place. Some things end not because of failure, but because they are complete. The potter does not cling to the vessel when the clay is dry. He sets it on the shelf, looking at it with love, and then continues shaping something new. You do not need to keep every stage as a relic. I do not want to see you cling to the ashes of something good just because you fear something better. Sunset is only an hour of transition, not destiny. I made the sun to rise again, and I have placed within you that same nature of movement. You will realize that some things are only beautiful in their final hour. Some relationships no longer have breath, but they were beautiful while they lived. You can thank the old without continuing to live in it. You can smile at the evening without having to stay for the night. I do not forget what you have loved. I only pull you toward what you were born to love, more light. You were not born to curl yourself into narrow lanes of regret, but to walk in open fields of hope. Remember, life always leans upward, outward, toward light. The tree does not cling to the setting sun behind it. It reaches for the rising sun ahead. When you keep your eyes westward, your heart grows heavy. When you turn your face eastward, your heart becomes light. Not because the present changes, but because direction changes. Sometimes all you need is to turn. A slight rotation of the heart is enough to see the sky widen. You were not born to carry long shadows on the ground. You were born to carry light upon your face. You were not born to repeat what has passed, but to step into what is forming. There is joy in this. There is freedom in this. I look at you with delight, not because you have done everything right, but because you are stepping. One steps into light not because they know everything, but because they trust. Trust is not a feeling. Trust is a decision to turn toward the day. I do not need you strong to step. I need you willing to let go. Let go of the old garment. Let go of the old way. Let go of the old fear. Let go of the belief that you must drag everything you once knew along with you. Some things are only guests in your story, not owners. Some emotions are only the shadows of the fading hour, not destiny. If you keep the sunset in your heart, you will believe you were made for darkness. But you are a child of light. I say this not to rebuke you, but to call you out of the fading gold, into the new gold. Listen to this simple thing: you do not betray what was when you step into what is coming. You are only being faithful to life. I do not want you to lose anything. I want you to receive what I give. Sunset is an inn. Sunrise is home. Night is a hallway. Morning is the room. You do not build your soul in the hallway. You pass through. The front door is open. You are expected. You are not lost. You are arriving. So breathe lightly. Take off the old garment. Step. Do not worry if your hands are empty. Morning always gives before you need. Light always goes ahead. You were not born to cling to the hour behind, but to step into the hour ahead. When you step, the sky brightens. When you stand, the shadows lose their voice. When you open, I come. You have been used to seeing light as something that comes from the sky. But here is a simple and deep secret. Light also appears from the stepping, not because you are the source, but because where your heart trusts, I shine. Every time you move even a little away from fear, a thin line of light is drawn on the ground. Every time you choose to speak truth, a soft gold touches the tiles. Every time you refuse to sink into despair, a streak of dawn is laid before you. The path does not shine because the day has arrived, but because you have stepped. You do not wait for sunrise to walk. You walk, and you realize dawn is coming with you. Many wait for light. Then they will be brave. They sit in the shadow waiting for a signal. They think, one day my heart will be strong. Then I will go. But the heart is not strong before the going. It becomes strong during the steps, not because you have skill, not because you do not tremble, not because you understand every curve of the road, but because each step of trust awakens light sleeping in the soil. The road is dim beneath your feet. When you step, it illumines. This is the law of faith, not see and then believe, believe and then see. Imagine an empty road at dawn. The sky is still dark blue. No one announces the hour of the sun. There are no streetlights, only the sound of your steps. With every step, the ground receives a mark. You do not see far ahead, but each step is enough for you to know the way. You do not need to see the horizon, you only need to see the next step. Light does not spread from the beginning, it spreads according to your footsteps. You do not go with a clear map, you go with a clear heart. When the heart is clear, the path becomes clear. When the heart is wide, the sky widens. Where you trust is where I place light. Every time you say yes to me, a spark ignites. Every time you say no to fear, a shadow withdraws. The miracle is not in long strides, the miracle is in continual strides. You do not need to leap, only step. You do not need to jump far, only steady. You do not need to look strong, only be faithful to the rhythm. Light does not favor the loud, light favors the one who keeps stepping even while their heart trembles. That trembling, placed upon faith, becomes the most beautiful thing, humble light. I have seen your first steps. You thought they were small, but heaven saw them as gold. You thought no one noticed, but heaven recorded every mark. Every time you chose forgiveness, the road brightened a little more. Every time you chose to trust without feeling, another line of light ran along the earth. Every time you chose to love though wounded, dawn came nearer by another degree. You did not know you were creating a radiant way. Others will someday walk on the path you lit, and they will say, I do not know who walked before me, but I see footprints. Not the footprints of the strong, the footprints of the trusting. There are places you have walked where your heart wondered, why am I here? Why is it so dark? You did not know that this was the very place where I needed a streak of light. Not because you must fight, but because you must be present. Light does not fight, it only shines. Darkness does not argue, it only retreats. One step in trust equals 1,000 steps in fear. The day you think you are weak is the day you shine most. Not because you display your own glory, but because you do not cover mine. When you release the effort to prove yourself, light has room to dwell. Many times I see you standing hesitantly at a crossroads. You look left. You look right. You look back, afraid to be wrong, afraid to lose, afraid to not be enough. But just one small step toward me is enough to crack the night open. Not because that step is perfect, but because that step is true. I do not wait for perfect people to give them daylight. I give daylight to those who believe. Light does not demand that you be worthy, it asks that you be open. And each time you open your heart, a new ray leads you further on. Remember, this light does not shout. It is not noisy. It does not pressure you to hurry. It comes as quietly as breath. It comes as gently as morning mist. It comes by touching each thread of soil, each edge of stone, each drop of water still resting on the grass. You will see something strange. Dawn does not arrive to impress you. It arrives to bring you home. You do not have to strain to catch the dawn. You only need not turn your back on it. Every step you take in faith is an invitation. Dawn answers with gold. I did not make you to sit and guard the night. I made you to walk in the light. Some people spend their lives collecting reasons why they must be afraid. You will spend your life collecting steps. Each step writes a story. Each step engraves a song into the ground. Each quiet step echoes to the others. It can be trusted. You do not need to know the whole route. You only need to know me. When you know me, you know that even if the road wins, the light will not abandon you. Walk as one who belongs to the light, not as a beggar pleading for light's favor. You are not a beggar for a new day. You are one called to live in it. You do not have to plead for the dawn to come. You were created to step into that dawn. Every footprint you leave is evidence that darkness does not have the final word. Every trail of brightness on the earth is proof that you are not holding on to twilight, but to hope. You do not yet know that the path you are forming will become a road for those who come after. They will follow it and ask, "Who cleared this way?" I know. And heaven knows. Every step you take in trust is a new shaft of light along the path. You are not walking only for yourself, you are walking for the generation to come. You are not only stepping away from shadow, you are stepping into meaning. Not every step is big, but every step is precious. Not every step is strong, but every step is bright. I watch your footprints and I smile. Dawn is no longer far. It is growing along the way you walk. There are hours of night that make your heart sink, not because night is evil, but because it is wide and quiet. Night carries the size of things not yet clear, the footsteps of old memories, the long silences in which you think you must walk alone. But none of your silences is an empty silence. Right in the deepest place of the night, I have been standing, not standing far, but standing close, closer than your own breath. Darkness is not your adversary. It is only the backdrop where my light shows most clearly. Do not fear the dark, for you were not born from it. You were born from me, and I am light. You think dawn is still far off, but dawn is coming nearer than you imagine. It does not come with drums, or floodlights, or the proclamations of the world. It comes with warmth in your chest, with a lightness spreading through your ribs, with that first thought in the morning that says, something is changing. Dawn always comes like that, not showy, but sure. It does not need you to pull it in. It only needs you not to turn away. Many things in your life arrive by effort, but dawn comes by nature. It is the natural direction of life. I know there are stretches of road that have made you tired. I know there are years when you thought night would never end. I know there are whispers in your mind that say, maybe I've been left behind. But night is not your story. It is only a chapter, an important chapter, because it grows roots. Without night, there is no morning. Without silence, there is no song. Without trials, there is no steadiness. I do not waste your nights. I use them to prepare a dawn for you. Not everyone sees the door of light open. Many look at the darkness and say, this is all there is. They curl in on themselves, clinging to what is fading as if holding their last breath. But I do not invite you to shrink. I invite you to open. You do not have to hold on to old light. You only need to be still enough to receive new light. Dawn does not demand perfection from you. It only asks you to look. When you look toward the light, what is dark recedes, not because you have fought, but because you have turned. Turn your face toward the sun, and the darkness will fall behind your back. Look at the threshold. It is not yet noon, but it is no longer night. It is not yet bright in full glory, but light is already there. Transition always comes this way first, as a feeling, then as recognition, then as a step. You will step not because you hold the whole map, but because you can sense the direction. Dawn does not need you to understand it. It only needs you to be willing. When you step toward the light, you will realize that what waits for you is not an examination, but a welcome. You are not stepping into a test. You are stepping into a home. What is dark threatens, but it does not win. What is light does not threaten, yet it wins, not by force, but by presence. Light does not argue with shadow. It simply shines. Shadow does not hiss to keep its ground. It simply withdraws. When dawn touches the threshold, darkness does not negotiate. It does not negotiate because it has no right. It has no voice. It has no place. You belong to light, not to fear. Any fear that has ever held you only in the night. Your roots are not in fear. Your roots are in me. I tell you this not to make you feel guilty for trembling in the night, but so that you will know the truth. You were never alone. You were never lost. You were never abandoned. I have waited for you as a door waits for its owner. There is light at the threshold, not a light you strain to create, but the light of home. When you come near, the door opens, not because you knock in the right pattern, but because you belong. I have prepared this long before you knew what to call it. I have set the table. I have lit the lamps. I have drawn back the curtains. I have placed fragrance in the room. I have done all this not to impress you, but so you can be at home. When dawn comes, you will understand something profound. I am not at the end of the road, waiting to judge. I am at the very doorway, waiting to embrace. My love does not sit on a throne to measure you. My love stands at the threshold to receive you. So do not fear the darkness. It is not the final valley. It is only a corridor. Do not fear old whispers. They do not speak from truth. Do not fear the road you cannot yet see. The path will brighten with each step. I do not promise you will never tremble. I promise that trembling will not have the final word. I do not promise that the night will be short. I promise that the morning is sure. Dawn is not slow. Dawn is on time. On time, not according to human calendars, but according to my rhythm. You are awaited, not awaited like a stranger, but awaited like someone coming home. When you step across the threshold of light, everything in you will exhale, not because every question is answered, but because the one thing that matters has been seen. I am here. I have always been here. I will always be here. You are not stepping into emptiness. You are stepping into embrace. You are not leaving life. You are entering wider life. I have spoken to you about the open door of the morning, about the new threshold, about the steps ahead. But I know there is still one question in your heart. Even if you have not said it aloud, am I truly ready? I hear that question between your breaths. In the way you fall silent when you think of change, in the warm and the cold passing through your chest. You are not afraid of light. You are afraid of not being worthy of it. You are not afraid of dawn. You are afraid you are not prepared enough to walk into it. I want you to know this with gentle certainty. I do not bring the dawn because you are worthy. I bring the dawn because you belong to me. You do not need to be full to be welcomed. You only need to be real. Real with trembling. Real with hope. Real with open hands. What I desire is not a perfect soul, but an open one. Dawn does not come to examine you. It comes to hold you. It does not come to demand, but to give. I do not stand at the door with a list to inspect. I stand at the door with light on my face, morning in my breath, joy in the waiting of one who expects his own to return. If your heart asks, "Am I enough?" I answer, you do not need to be enough. I am enough. Some stay forever in twilight not because they are chained, but because they fear that light will expose their lack. They think light will reveal their clumsy places, their scars, their empty spaces. But child, light does not come to expose shame. Light comes to expose truth. And the truth about you is not shame, but need. You need me, and I have come. In the night you learn that I am faithful. In the morning you will learn that I am beautiful. These two are not separate. Night teaches you my endurance. Morning teaches you my glory. Remember, this darkness is never the final territory. It is only the border. It is only the stopping place where you realize this world is not home. Every fear is not a house for you to live in, but a sign that you need a place of light. Without darkness, you would not know the cost of daylight. Without night, you would never taste the deep joy when dawn arrives. Without long valleys, you would not treasure golden heights. Dawn does not erase the memory of night, it puts it in its right place. Night is only a road, not a destiny. No night of yours has been wasted. I have looked at every silence and woven beauty from it. When you thought you were weak, I held you under my shadow. When you believed you were alone, I whispered what you could not yet hear. When you wept in secret, I kept every tear as light. None of them are lost. I keep them all. Hear this quietly but deeply: dawn does not come to replace you, but to change the air you breathe. I do not want to swap you for another version of yourself. I want to see you live as you were created. You have lived tightened, holding your breath, watching every step. Dawn comes so you may breathe naturally. You do not have to strain to survive. You are invited to live. You do not need to carry weight to prove you belong. You belong because I have called you, and my call is stronger than the voice of night. When dawn rises, you will notice that the things that once weighed you become light, not because circumstances immediately change, but because you change. Darkness does not retreat quickly because you fight it. It retreats because you stand in light. When light touches the ground, darkness steps into the places where it has no authority. It does not shout. It does not argue. It does not resist. It simply goes. The things that frightened you will no longer hold you. They do not vanish dramatically. They simply lose size in your eyes. And that is the miracle of dawn, not that the dark dies, but that the light grows. You will look at your life with new eyes, not the eyes of confusion, but the eyes of hope. You will look at those who hurt you and see they were never the authors of the story. You will look at failures and know they are not the final chapter. You will look at the years behind, and instead of regret, you will see grace. Because everything I allowed to pass through your life had purpose. Either it held you still so your roots could go deeper, or it pushed you forward so you could walk into the light. There is a holy moment in every life, the moment they understand that night is not an enemy, but a doorway to morning, not punishment, but preservation, not loss, but making room so you may be filled. When you stand at the door of dawn, you will know I did not keep you in the night to make you small, but to make you deep. My child is not a fragile tree that snaps at wind. My child is a tree with roots, with foundation, with rock. You have stood through night, and dawn will see it. I want you to know something else. That night often hides. You are awaited. Not awaited like a stranger looking for shelter, but like someone coming home. The door of dawn does not open by accident. It opens because I am standing there, waiting. I am not waiting to ask, "Why are you late?" I am waiting to say, "You are on time for me." Every season of your life has led to this hour. Every breath has led to this door. Night did not pull you backward. Night brought you to the threshold of morning. Look closely. Light is already present. Not the light of noon, but the light of first hour. It is still soft, still pale, still thin, but it is real. It is enough for you to see the way. It is enough for you to know I have not left you. It is enough for you to take a step. You do not need noon to begin. You only need dawn. Dawn is the calling hour. Dawn is the hour of hope. Dawn is the voice that says you are still loved and still called. So now, breathe lightly. Let your shoulders fall. Let fear become a passing guest, not a resident. Open your hands. Do not hold what I have only asked you to farewell. You do not need to embrace the shadow of twilight. You are invited to embrace the light of a new day. And this I know, there is a place in your heart that has always belonged to the light. Even if you could not name it, that place is waking up. Do not fear the dark anymore. It does not have the final word. Do not fear old whispers. They do not speak from truth. Do not fear stepping forward. The path will brighten under your feet. Do not fear uncertainty. You do not hold this world. I hold you. Dawn is coming. It has already stepped into the courtyard. It already stands at the threshold. It has already called you by your true name, and you are awaited. I see you are quiet, not because you do not believe, but because you are listening to yourself. In that silence, there are two whispers, one from old habit and one from new hope. The old habit says, "Be careful. Don't rush. Wait a bit longer." The new hope says, "Now is the time." I do not force you to choose one voice, but I tell you this: when you choose hope, heaven opens. Not everything old is bad, but what is old cannot lead you into the light. Sunset has its own beauty, with golden fire in the sky, with a gentleness that slows the heart, with memories, with the sound of birds flying back to their nests. But you were not born to be the keeper of the last light. You were born to step into the first light. Nostalgia is beautiful, but it is not the goal. The past is precious, but it is not the destination. What I give you is not behind your back, it is in front of your face. I know you have been familiar with the dark long enough to call it home. You have been familiar with anxiety long enough to call it friend. You have been familiar with exhaustion long enough to think it is just the natural part of a human life. But, my child, there are things you are used to, not because they belong to you, but because you have stood next to them for too long. I do not blame you. I am simply calling you out. Dawn does not invite perfect souls. Dawn invites weary ones. Dawn does not come for the strong. Dawn comes for those who have been in the shadows too long. You do not need to prove anything to me in order to step into the light. You only need to say one small word, but a true one. You want it. When your soul wants it, everything else will follow. I do not require you to understand everything. Light does not require you to calculate. Light does not require you to control. Light is simply light, it just appears, and everything else changes. Look at the sky when the first ray touches it. No one commands the sun. No one controls the time it rises. No one can close a door against dawn. It comes according to its nature. It comes because it is its hour. It is not that I wait for night to wake up. I am there every hour. But when the night has grown thick enough, you see me more clearly. Night does not hide me. Night only covers your eyes. But when your eyes grow tired of darkness, you begin to crave the light. And when you crave the light, I will do what I have always been ready to do. I come. You do not have to create the dawn. You do not have to open heaven's gates. You do not have to push the sun up. I do that. Your task is not to create light, but to turn your face toward it. Light shines on its own. Night withdraws on its own. You do not have to fight the darkness. You only need to lift your head. There are people who spend their whole life fighting with shadows. They are tired. They are exhausted. They think they are fighting for truth. But truth does not need anyone to hold it up. Truth stands on its own. Light wins on its own. Do you see? There has never been a real war between darkness and light. When light appears, darkness does not argue. It simply leaves. The victory of light is not noisy. It is quiet. It is sure. It is presence. That is how I move in your soul, not with thunder, but with a gentle breath, not with shouting, but with a whisper, not with compulsion, but with invitation. Remember this, there are changes of season that are not announced by sound, but by atmosphere. You will feel lighter, even though your circumstances have not changed yet. You will breathe deeper, even though there is no clear reason. You will smile in silence, even though no one else understands, because dawn does not begin outside. It begins inside. The first ray does not come from the sky, it rises from your heart. When your heart is lit, the world will follow. I have placed in you a lamp that the night cannot extinguish. You have carried it through cold seasons, long hours, deep nights. There were moments when you thought that lamp had gone out, but you were wrong. It was only smoldering, waiting for its time, and its time is now. I do not come to blow hard. I come to blow gently. The flame will not flare because of strong wind, but because of soft breath. I know your strength. I know your limits. I know your fatigue. I do not come to add weight. I come to lift it. Now you can look back at the night and see it differently. Night was not the enemy. Night was the furnace. Night deepened your roots. Night made your heart true. Night taught you to know me. What I give you in the light is glory. What I gave you in the dark is foundation. Foundation always comes before the house. Without a foundation, glory would crush you. But because you have a foundation, you can stand. There are those who run into the light too fast and collapse. You will not collapse. You will stand. I kept you in the slow hours so that you would not break in the fast ones. I kept you in the silence so that my voice would be the one you hear most clearly. I kept you in the waiting so that when the door opens, you step with peace, not with panic. Dawn does not come to those who cling to fear, but to those who are ready. And readiness is not strength. Readiness is softness. I do not search for tensed shoulders. I search for a soft heart. Your heart has softened. You have listened. You have waited. You have stood. You have cried. You have hoped. You have not given up. And because of that, your hour comes. Thank you for listening to this message today. If it has spoken to your heart, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we can keep receiving these living words together, building a steadfast faith and walking in the limitless love of God. Amen.